Welcome, tribe. My name is Petra, and I will be your guide on tonight's journey. I'm hoping we can start by connecting with the present moment and taking some deep breaths together. Just relax into the now. I have this singing bowl. So I'll ring it and I'll do one demonstration. And we'll do that collective breath 3 times. So, here we go. Excellent. Here we go. We begin in the laboratory. Not one of beakers and cold steel, but a laboratory for the soul. As an artist, as a queer, neurodivergent soul standing at this threshold of graduation, I have come to realize that theater is not a shiny commodity we sell to an audience. It is a ritualistic purpose. It is the place where we practice being human together with a radical, often terrifying authenticity. In this space, we encounter the double negative. Richard Schechner tells us that a performer is not themselves, yet they are not the character. We exist in a liminal void, a gap between the fact of our bodies and the fiction of our stories. This void is not empty. It is the exact location where transformation takes place. Ritual is the bridge we build across that void, using the symbolic power of our intention to connect our mundane routines to the infinite. Now, we do not build this bridge in a vacuum. We are building it, unfortunately, on the set of a dying empire. We live in an era of massive inequality, where power is hoarded and the soul is oftentimes sucked out of art by the ticking of a clock. There is a haunting parallel. Come in, please. There is a haunting parallel between our modern American landscape and the fall of empires, such as Rome, a society that has lost its felt sense of meaning. When we look at the history of state ritual, we see the dark mirror of what we do. In fascist regimes, ritual was used as a psychopathic shamanism to replace the individual soul with duty and obedience. They used mass actions to bypass reason and enforce a supra-individual reality. This is why all creative work we do must be a rebellion. Our collective imagination is the only weapon we have against the apathy of the empire. To reclaim our sovereignty as artists is to reclaim the right to be wild in a world that only wants us to be productive. To find our way through this wilderness, I turn to the ancient art of alchemy. The handout provided and linked outlines the star in man. Alchemy is the science of transmutation, of taking the base metals of our trauma, our neurodivergent struggles, and our systemic oppression, and projecting our consciousness onto them until they turn to gold. The alchemists spoke of vitriol. For those of you who don't know what the word vitriol means, just a moment. It is an acid that burns through anything it touches, including metal. But it's also an acronym. Visita interiora terrae rectificando invenies occultum lapidem. It's Latin. Visit the innermost parts of the earth, and by setting things right, you will find the hidden stone. In our work, this means diving into the compost of our lives, the red zone, to find the gems of our creative truth. Let us look at the how. The mechanics of ritual begin with routine. Most people wake up and follow a sequence in the morning. Alarm, medication, coffee, commute, etc. But when we apply will and intention to that sequence, it raises the stakes. The biological function of ritual is cybernetic. It facilitates the coordination of the tribe or the community. It uses rhythm, repetition, and mass action to synchronize our pulses. It is a channeled application of will that bypasses the rational mind to allow us to converse with universal forces. In the theater, we call this the process. We take the mechanics of ritual and map them onto the rehearsal room. Think of the Meisner technique. It's an acting technique. It's a mechanical repetition used to strip away the social mask and find the raw presence of the human soul. From a directing perspective, composition is the architecture of this ritual. We thread together images, power dynamics, and physical embodiment to create a container for transformation. The rehearsal is a sacred period of linear time that allows the work to take legs and eventually walk on its own. Why do we do it? The function of ritual is to provide a transcendental beacon. It guides the individual from the fragmentation of the broken world around us toward a felt sense of soul sovereignty. It is an act of reconnection. When a ritual works, it creates a synchronized climax, a moment where the group energy collapses and reawakens the sovereignty of every person in the room. The function of performance is radical efficacy. Personally, I'm not interested in cute or feel-good theater. I am more interested in theater that impactfully changes an audience in real time. By holding the mirror of art up to our cruel realities, we aren't just reflecting the world. We are patterning new myths into the consciousness of the audience. We are creating a laboratory where we practice the authenticity that the empire tries to kill. Finally, we look at the elements, and they all begin right here. The body, the body, the body. The body is the central site of somatic intelligence. It is the vessel for ritual transference. Ritual is built from the raw materials of instinct, culture, and archetypal storytelling. It is a sacred outpouring of cosmic energy poured into the human form. We use our bodies to bridge the gap between the mundane and the infinite, bringing the wildness of our earthy, feral connection to life back to the center of the room. We have looked at the mechanics, we have looked at the crisis, and now we will look at how to transmute this compost into the gold that ultimately becomes the performance run. If the body is the site of ritual, then the director's blueprint is the map of the stars. When we build theater, grittily, from the ground up, we aren't just placing actors on a stage. We are composing and playing with the very fabric of reality. Using what I call a custom lens, refracting the light of our work through academic lenses such as animism, queer theory, and post-colonialism, we look at power dynamics and physical embodiment not as technical cues, but as somatic intelligence. We are creating a living myth. This is the work of the director, to take these disparate, sometimes confusing elements and forge them into a unified vessel that can hold the weight of a dying empire. It's not a small ask. We must distinguish between the ritual that liberates and the ritual that enslaves, however. The empire itself knows the power of ritual. In the fascist states of the 20th century, we saw a sense of permanent revolution used to replace individual reason with a pseudo-transcendental community of obedience. These are state rituals, mass actions designed to make us feel small and powerless. Yet there are also sacred rituals, the true transcendental beacons that guide us back to our own souls. Today, in our meta-modern era, we see a shift toward community ritual and mutual aid as a direct rebellion against the state as a deity. Performance too has its shadows, however. There is the shiny commodity, the theatrical entertainment used as a mood display to keep a population compliant and in a good mood while the world crumbles. But there is also the ritualistic purpose. This is the performance that functions as a simulation of life, not to hide from the truth, but to speak it. We play roles, we wear masks, but in this laboratory, we use those masks to reveal what is hidden. We move from being an actor to being an architect of original work. This is sovereign adult artistry. When a ritual succeeds, the effect is cybernetic coordination. The tribe moves as one. We bypass the rational mind to allow for a reconnection with life itself. We experience a felt sense of liberation from our limitations, and this isn't just a feeling, it's an energetic shift in vibration. By collapsing the waveform of our potential and focusing it through ritual, we reawaken the sovereignty of all of us. The effect of this kind of performance is a radical vulnerability. When we masterfully impart a felt experience of a theatrical ritual, we are performing a transmutation. We are riling the audience up to consciousness. Behind the social mask, we find the truth of our existence. And this is the artist's path to freedom, to take the base metal and material of our pain and project our consciousness onto it until it becomes gold. This brings us to the magnum opus, the great work. This is the Azoth of the philosophers. It's an alchemical mandala. The alchemists of ages past projected their imagination onto meditative images such as these to find the truth in their souls. But they projected their imagination onto base materials, acids, mercury, even manure, to ultimately find the elixir of life in their own souls. In theater, our transformation is found through the same projection. The liminal void is our furnace, and we seek the philosopher's stone, the second body of solid light that emerges when we are finally, radically, authentically ourselves. This is my methodology, the 7 stages of creation. We begin in fire, with the inspiration of our vision. This is the moment when you want to bring a work to life. You're inspired and you're passionate and you want to bring it to life. We move through water, the emotional connection and preparation. This happens when ideas just seem to come to us out of nowhere. Into air, the ideation and blueprinting. In theater, when we do table work in the early parts of rehearsal, this is air. Into earth, the construction and paving of the road to Rome. The bulk of the creative process is simply laying bricks. Through the spirit of Tech Week, the death and rebirth, and I've never been through a Tech Week that didn't feel like a death and rebirth, where we sacrifice what no longer serves the glow, into the purification of our final refinement, where we hone the subtle improvisations, until finally we reach the radiant gold of authentic being, transmitted energetically through the ritual of theater. The performance run is ecstatic. It is alive. It is a powerful, sacred transmission of energy. This project is my bridge of light from Cornish into the professional world. I dedicate this work to those who have felt lost in a culture of domination. We will sing for those who have no voice, stand up for those who cannot stand for themselves, and tell the stories that have gone untold for millennia. Thank you so much.